All right, welcome to Bet the Edge. I'm Jay Croucher here with Drew Dinsick, recording on a Thursday afternoon. We're going to talk about Seahawks-Falcons, Chiefs-49ers, and Jets-Steelers today, and then close out with our best bets. Let's start off with your Seattle Seahawks, Drew, at the Atlanta Falcons, who are 3-point favorites. At home, the total is 51 flat. I think we should start with the Seahawks here, because the Falcons are probably a bit more of a known commodity, though we can talk about that. Where do you rank Seattle's defense at the moment?
So this is the most variable number on the board among my rankings, because the injury situation for this defense is so fluid, and that's really dictating everything. The key, as far as I can tell you, with the Mike McDonald system is if he is able to stop the run with a relatively light box, then that unlocks all the things he wants to do with the pass defense in terms of really confounding the quarterback at the line of scrimmage, creating, simulated pressures, and really just kind of taking away space, dictating space in the passing game, which has been, at least was a huge signature of why the Seahawks defense got off to a hot start, that and they played no quarterbacks. But the injuries that they sustained, which were put clearly on display against the Lions and then again against the Niners, made it so that those teams were able to generate rushing success that was so outrageous that the Seahawks had to commit more guys to the box in order to try to stop the run. And that took away the ability of doing anything fun or unique or interesting on the back half. Now, that compounded by the fact that they now have injuries to the secondary as well, most notably Reek Woolen, who has been playing really well this year. And that's not good for this matchup. So I right now would put the Seattle defense at about 21st in the NFL. I'm expecting that Julian Love plays. I am hopeful that Boye Mafe, Byron Murphy, and Leonard Williams play. And that solves part one of the issues for the Seahawks defense, which is they should at least be somewhat effective at stopping the run in this contest. And if they can then utilize the scheme advantages that McDonald brings to the table, they may be able to cover up an absence of a player like Reek Woolen. Now, if Reek Woolen plays, that's an awesome matchup for, the budding superstar that is Drake London. But I would say that that particular button in the passing game spooks me a bit. And I think that it's almost like we need one more week probably before you can really kind of go back to really upgrading this team from, clearly bottom 10 to probably middle of the pack, or maybe even top half of the NFL once they have, their personnel, fully on board. But for me, at least, I think we're still a week away, because I need their CB1 back on the field. And I guess kind of hand in hand with that, I've been disappointed and a little concerned, honestly, about the quality of play that they're getting out of the other cornerbacks, most notably Witherspoon.
Wow, you're out on my man Devin Witherspoon.
His coverage has been brutal, man.
Yeah, I don't know. I can't say I've been paying super close attention to his week-by-week coverage. He's the 18th graded 18th ranked quarterback by PFF grading at the moment. He always passes the eye test when he shows up because he's such a loud player. But that's interesting that you don't rate his performance to date. On the other side of the ball, the Falcons defense ranks 21st in the NFL in EPA per play. Do you think that schematically they're not getting the most out of their talent at the moment?
Boy, I don't know that they have a lot of talent. It's the bigger problem. I think that the moves they made sort of right at the death of the preseason, where they bring in Nat Judon and they sign Simmons off the street, were a pretty clear indication that they were somewhat incomplete defensively in terms of talented bodies. And I through 6 weeks, there hasn't really been a standout performer for this unit. And the key and obvious place to point is they're getting virtually nothing out of their pass rush, which is allowing opposing quarterbacks lots of time to try to dissect the secondary. And the secondary doesn't have enough good players so that there are not weak spots to find. And I think a matchup like this, where if you had a couple of players who are at least kind of league average, or maybe even had a little bit of upside in the pass rush, you could really take advantage of what has been sort of the bugaboo of the Seattle offense so far, because Seattle, when they're in negative game states, has had poor pass protection. It's put Geno Smith into a position where he is forced to throw with relatively limited time, and he's getting the ball out of his hands quickly. He's playing quarterback effectively in general. But I would say that, this particular matchup looks tasty for a player like Geno Smith, as he is likely to have a little bit more comfort in the pocket. Now, I know there are injuries to be concerned about on the offensive line as well for the Seattle Seahawks. It does not look likely that Anthony Bradford is going to go. Connor Williams was limited in practice as well. And they kind of just have Charles Cross at tackle and a bunch of guys who are, probably lucky to be on a roster, let alone starting. So it's definitely concerning for me against a team that is capable of pass rush, but this is weakness on weakness. So I do think that Smith and company should be able to, put a little bit of scoreboard pressure, or at least score an answer with the Falcons here, which has me, somewhat interested in taking the points in this one.
Okay, total's gone up to 51. Any bet for you on that?
That one I completely agree with. This should be one of the higher scoring games of the week. My fare is pretty darn close to 51, so I'm not going to get involved one way or the other. But, I think as you kind of synthesize what's going on with the Seattle defensive injuries, if Trey Brown and Reek Woolen are both out, then all of a sudden 51 for me might jump to more like 51.5, 52. So slight lean to the over there, just concern, just depending on who's available for the cornerbacks for Seattle. But I would say that 51 being one of the higher totals on the board is correct.
Okay. All right. We're counting down to the tip-off of the NBA season. And for those of you drafting your fantasy team, get a jump on your competition with a free Roto-World Basketball Draft Kit. Get all the ranking stats and player profiles you need to dominate your league all season long. Go to NBCSports.com/hoopskit to download today. All right. The big one, I would say Chiefs 1.5-point dogs at the 49ers. The total is 47. This is Sunday in the late window. Who wins this game, Drew?
Jay, the big one was in February. This is the rematch of the big one. But no, this is a really fun game, really fun handicap. I'm very excited that it basically has effectively a standalone window, as I'm not sure people are dying to tune into Raiders, Rams, or Carolina, Washington, although I better check what my local listings have. If LA is getting Raiders, Rams instead of Niners, Chiefs, I'm going to be a little, I've been out of shape. But regardless, Chiefs Niners is a fun matchup in a lot of ways, because this is, 1.5 is a pretty standard home field advantage number in the NFL right now. And that is basically saying that the Chiefs and the Niners should be exactly equally power rated. There is some kind of compensating effects here of the Chiefs are coming off of a bye, so they should have extra time to prepare. But the Niners played on Thursday Night Football, so they may even have a hair of an advantage in terms of preparation, because the Niners get their players in the building for more time than the Chiefs do. As a bye week means guys are completely let go for a week. So I could definitely see that the bye has been a little bit mitigated here for the Chiefs. There's certainly no players for the Chiefs that I had eyes for where I thought, oh my gosh, a bye is going to do this guy really solid so that he can kind of get healthy and be back and be better than ever. The Chiefs are who they are. The players that are missing, I think, are gone for an extended, long enough period that, the big questions they're going to have to answer coming out of this bye are can you continue to get what you're getting out of Kareem Hunt? Can you continue to get what you're getting out of Juju Smith-Schuster? And is this offense and really the skill position players you've put around Pat Mahomes, are they good enough to go score for score with a unit that is as talented as the San Francisco 49ers? And right now, I would say no. I rate the Niners better than the Chiefs on a neutral. I think that this line should be closer to 3. And I played some Niners in this one, although it's a pretty weak opinion. If you can't tell from sort of the tone of everything we've talked about this week, Jay, I have a lot of weak opinions this week. I'm basically just dying for NBA to get here, as we are going through the portion of the season where things feel in a lot of ways solved, and most of the edges are really just manifest by figuring out injuries before the market and understanding the impact of those injuries more so than the rest of us. But I think this is a slight edge available on the home Niners team. And I think that in general, you have a solid matchup here of the passing offense for San Francisco up against the Kansas City passing defense. Hasn't really been tested this year. There were some opportunities for Derek Carr to really put some big plays on the board against this Chiefs passing defense in that Monday Night Football game 2 weeks ago, and they were just a hair off. And I think that Brock Purdy and company with this three-headed monster at wide receiver, including George Kittle at tight end, this is an opportunity for them to really shine. The run defense for the Chiefs has been out of this world good, and they have been tested. And so hopefully Kyle Shanahan is figuring out a way to get things done through the air here and is not going to stubbornly run the ball and put his offense in third and long situations. But I think that Shanahan has enough in his bag of tricks to get the Niners home. And I really love a situation here where the Niners potentially could be playing with a lead and really kind of put the Chiefs' backs against the wall to where they have to come up with explosive plays with these weapons, because that is where I think, I think if I was to put up a schematic, how do you beat this year's Chiefs? It's that. You can't let them kind of control game state and do these matriculating drives where they take off 8 minutes of time and Pat Mahomes is scrambling on 3rd and 4 for 6 yards. I mean, you have to put their backs against the wall and make them beat you with these weak weapons.
Yep. Do you think that the success that they had against New Orleans with the emphasis on Kareem Hunt and Mahomes having a 4-yard ADOT, do you think that is sustainable?
I don't. And the more information we're getting about the Saints defense makes me think that unit might have been a touch overrated. I may be guilty of that myself. And, I think I could end up eating these words because Nick Bosa has had this preternatural ability to create pressure and not get a sack. And Pat Mahomes has an innate ability to avoid pressure and create positive plays out of thin air. And if that is happening consistently on Sunday afternoon, then I might be turning off my TV or finding the Rams-Raiders game. But I think ultimately this matchup for the Niners defense is somewhat solid. I'm expecting Charvarius Ward to go. Not that it matters that much in my opinion, because you don't again have game-breaking wide receivers out in the field for Kansas City, but Fred Warner is going to matter a ton for stopping Kareem Hunt. I think that is an outstanding matchup in general, and I think Nick Bosa on clear and obvious passing downs can get home, knock on wood.
On that Bosa point, are you the school that's converting pressures to sacks is largely noise, or is that a talent to be able to finish those plays, do you think?
I think it's closer. It's 70-30 talent. I think creating pressure is it can be traced to Nick Bosa's ability to get off at the snap, which is unbelievable. He is his speed of get off is fastest in the league as far as I can tell you, and so for those reasons he can beat most offensive tackles with his speed and combination of power. But I do think that there is sort of there's an art to finishing, and for whatever reason, Bosa seems to be able to create the pressure but not quite get home. It may be just more of a function of who he's playing. He doesn't get lots of games against some of the quarterbacks who tend to give up the most sacks when they're pressured, like TJ Watt in the AFC North.
Yeah, I haven't seen the numbers, but to me, just anecdotally, it does seem that Bosa is deliberately left unblocked as well on a lot of plays, where he's given free rush at the quarterback, and the quarterback accounts for that. So I don't know, maybe that's another way that pressure is generated without the real chance of getting a sack. All right, this Sunday night, it's a showdown of two teams vying for position in a crowded group of AFC contenders. Catch Aaron Rodgers and the Jets take on TJ Watt and the Steelers in Pittsburgh. Coverage starts at 7 p.m. Eastern, only on NBC and Peacock.
As you all know by now, we've teamed up with BetMGM this season. We'll be using BetMGM lines to make all our picks, and we'll have special offers for our listeners each week. If you haven't signed up to BetMGM yet, use bonus code BETEDGE, and you'll get up to a $1,500 first bet offer on your first wager with BetMGM. Here's how it works. Download the BetMGM app and sign up using bonus code BETEDGE. Deposit at least $10 and place your first wager on any game, and you'll receive up to $1,500 in bonus bets if your first bet loses. Just make sure you use bonus code BETEDGE when you sign up. See BetMGM.com for terms. 21 plus only. U.S. promotional offers not available in New York, Nevada, Ontario, or Puerto Rico. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Available in the U.S. Call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369 in New York. Call 1-800-NEXT-STEP in Arizona, 1-800-327-5050 in Massachusetts, 1-800-BETS-OFF in Iowa, 1-800-981-0023 in Puerto Rico. First bet offer for new customers only, subject to eligibility requirements. Rewards are non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire in 7 days in partnership with Kansas Crossing Casino and Hotel. Don't forget, if you haven't signed up for BetMGM yet, use bonus code BETEDGE and get your $1,500 first bet offer today.
Okay, New York Jets in primetime again. Here we go. Jets 2-point favorites in Pittsburgh. The total is 38.5. Last time Sunday Night Football was in Pittsburgh, I was there, and there was a thunderstorm. Everything got delayed a long time, and then the game itself wasn't great against the Cowboys before a thrilling finale, so hopefully this one is better. How much do you think Davante Adams moves the needle in this game?
So I think he moves the needle a little. I think in general you can expect the passing offense for the Jets to be a little bit faster, a little bit more optionality. I think if just moving the kind of players down one peg in terms of their matchups CB wise is awesome. Like the idea of Garrett Wilson getting matched up on CB2s and CB3s consistently in this game is like holy tasty matchup there. But I also am a little bit cautiously optimistic that the Jets offense is going to deserve an upgrade because I'm nervous that Aaron Rodgers is not healthy. Kind of rewatching the end of that Buffalo Bills game and really the second half in general. There's a little bit of something not quite there with the way that he is moving right now. I think the ankle injury that he sustained in Minnesota is probably against Minnesota in London is maybe being a little undercovered in terms of what's going on with his performance. But so I guess that's maybe worth watching is how healthy is Aaron Rodgers. But let's assume that he is perfectly fine out there this week. And let's assume that the Jets pass block is at least average or gives him enough time to process quickly. This passing offense should be pretty solid. Now, I don't have a ton of belief that their problems are solved. The run block is still absolutely miserable. I know that Breece Hall on paper had a breakout against a Buffalo Bills team, but as we talked about in the preview from Monday last week, that was a soft landing. Like the Buffalo Bills were broadly injured across their D-line and have weak linebacker play. And so that should not have necessarily been the hardest test. And yet he is still getting consistently first contact at or behind the line of scrimmage. And if that continues, then these guys are absolutely cooked because you put Rodgers in a situation where he must pass in comeback mode or in just sustain a drive mode or in, hey, complete a long third down mode. That opens up a door for success for the Pittsburgh pass rush here, which obviously is capable of creating some chaotic plays. So I'm definitely on team this upgrades the Jets offense broadly, but I still kind of need to see it in action. And I honestly if anyone can convince me that bringing in Davante Adams is somehow going to help the running game, I would like to hear that discussed a little bit, because until they find some balance, I think this is still somewhat of a predictable and defendable unit.
Yeah, with Breece Hall, who statistically broke out last game, I think PFF has some issues with its grading, particularly around defensive players, offensive linemen, where the assignment isn't always 100% clear. but I think that PFF grading is very valuable with running backs because it's fairly easy to identify what a running back needs to do on every play, which is basically hit the hole and try and get as many yards as possible. Breece Hall against the Bills had a PFF grade of 58. And that kind of matched what I saw, where he doesn't seem to have any bursts at the moment. Like, it was the Breece Hall of 2 years ago on that big run down the left sideline. He would have been minus 2,000 to turn that into a touchdown. Like, he just needed to make one backtracking guy miss, and he couldn't do it. And he had the whole field basically to make him miss. And he tried this kind of stutter move to go and hug the sideline, which just didn't work at all. So I don't know. He must be dealing with an injury or something is going on there because he doesn't look right at all. I think the Jets offense, though, will broadly be fine so long as Rodgers is upright. But to me, their defense is the more interesting unit for them at the moment. Right now, they rank 11th in EPA per play. Do you think that is, if you're to back minus 110 each side, do you think that is more likely to climb or get worse as the season goes on?
I need to look at their schedule of opposing quarterbacks.
Sure. I guess if you say like adjust for opponents, like, do you think this is a top 10 defense opponent adjusted?
I think it probably is, but I think that says more about defense across the league. So the Jets defense to me is a defense that if they're up against an elite quarterback they're going to get beat. And the reason I say that is they can be run on. And when you are, and so basically they have good enough coverage that when a team is effectively running on them, like the Niners did week 1, like the Bills did last week, they got to commit more guys to the box. They got to get heavier. They got to have more heavy personnel in the field, and they got to have more guys close to the line of scrimmage. They're not tackling especially well at the second level, and they basically have to tilt their defense and really put serious pressure on their cornerbacks. And that works fine if you're playing a quarterback who's not capable of tight window throws and reading the defense and really kind of or an offensive coordinator who's capable of finding the space in your coverage to put elite skill position players. And so you go up against a team like the Patriots who can't do that, and your defense looks amazing. You go up against a team like the Bills who have Josh Allen, or a team like the Niners who have Kyle Shanahan, and that is a problem. So I think that the coverage is still very, very good, but they have almost no margin for error when they're up against teams that run block well, that have elite quarterbacks and or run the top level systems in the NFL. Thankfully for them, as I'm looking at their schedule right now, there's not many more of those left on their schedule, and certainly the Pittsburgh Steelers do not qualify. What the Pittsburgh Steelers are doing right now is very confusing, Jay. I am not a guy who thinks Justin Fields is going to be your next top 10 quarterback by any stretch of the imagination, but considering the injuries they have on their offensive line right now, and just in general, the way that offensive line has played this year, the idea that you're going to put the statue of Russell Wilson back there and expect him to succeed against this Jets defense, which can so effectively create interior pressure, is mind-boggling to me. And I kind of assumed that this was either some sort of joke or misinformation, misdirection, sleight of hand. What is Tomlin doing here? But it seems like from the people who are closest to this situation that this is going to be Russell Wilson's opportunity on Sunday night. And I do not understand that whatsoever. If you were going to ultimately give him the chance, this does not seem like the right time or place to do it. And I think that in general, this is kind of the lick your lips matchup for the Jets defense, much like Thursday was against the Patriots back in week 3. So, you're going to see, I think, a very, very bimodal type of performance out of the Jets defense this season, where against the likes of the Titans, the Patriots, the Broncos, and the Steelers, they look absolutely all universe. And then when they go up against the more sophisticated systems who can either run block or scheme well, they're going to look like they looked on Monday Night Football. I mean, the fact that they only gave up 23 to the Bills was a little fluky. That really could have gotten out of hand.
Yep. I agree. I think with Russell Wilson, the parallel I would draw is the contract that Reggie Jackson signed with the Denver Nuggets when he had no market whatsoever, where I think that's clearly well, my sense is that there had to be some sort of agreement that Russell Wilson was coming to be the starter and that he would get a job being the starter, and that's why he's the starter, despite logic suggesting it should probably still be Justin Fields. All right, let's go to our best bets. I'll start us off. I'm taking the Cincinnati Bengals as 5.5-point favorites in Cleveland, return game of Nick Chubb, though he's going to have a pitch count, presumably. I just think it's very hard to quantify exactly how bad and destructive Deshaun Watson is at the moment, where he's having, by some measures, one of the worst seasons of all time. The Cleveland Browns, their passing success rate is just obscenely low. Watson reached a stage that haven't really seen for a kind of veteran quarterback who is still, as relatively young as him, in the Eagles game, where it seemed like he decided in the second half of the Eagles game, like, I just don't want to throw the football anymore. And just any opportunity I get to run, I'm going to take it because I can still move a little bit. And I don't have any faith whatsoever in throwing the ball. He should have thrown an awful pick to Quinyon Mitchell, but Quinyon and CJGJ, they collided into each other, which took that away. He just is not there at the moment. And I think that this Bengals offense, on the other hand, is unquestionably elite. They go up against the Cleveland secondary that is a little bit suspect. This Cleveland defense has just been middle of the pack. The offense is maybe the worst in the league, the way that Deshaun is playing at the moment. So I just can't take Deshaun Watson only getting 5.5 points against Joe Burrow at the moment. I think this Bengals defense as well, they did show some positive signs against the Giants. Not that they're going to be good, but at least that they're not going to be comical. And comical is what the Browns offense is at the moment. So I'll take Cincinnati minus 5.5. What's your best bet?
I thought about this one too. I like this play. I'm like Browns should be a touchdown dog to an average team on a neutral field right now. And I think maybe I'm too high on them. It's crazy. And I also would, if you said people are saying Watson's playing this poorly because he's trying to get benched so he can get paid and not have to play football, I would believe it. That's how bad it is. And it's destructive is, I think, a very appropriate way to define it. So I agree. Good play. My favorite look on the board. I'm going to ride with the Houston Texans here against the Green Bay Packers. I'm going to take them on the money line just because it's a hair under 3 right now. If this gets bet back out to 3, I like Texans plus 3 also. But at current prices, I think money line has a bigger edge. The difference between these two teams in this game for me is a very, very fine margin. And I think that the Packers defense is the standout unit of concern. Packers offensively, to a degree as well, with the injuries they've sustained to some of the key weapons in the passing game, I think is noteworthy. I know that the Texans will be without Lassiter. I know that their linebacking core is also in a little bit of shambles, but the Texans defense can still create pressure for Jordan Love. And, Jordan Love having to make some quick decisions has made some bad choices so far this season. And I think that you can get a little bit of the bad love in this game if you can carry forward, as well as this defensive line has played the last handful of weeks. So I believe the Texans the Texans defense can keep this close, and I believe that CJ Stroud can pick apart a Green Bay Packers defense that is still wildly overrated by market. They are living in the EPA per play leaderboard entirely based on turnovers. And I know that a lot of the early part of the season, the story around CJ Stroud was he had turnover-worthy plays that weren't being converted to turnovers, but he has finally turned the tide and looks a lot like the guy that finished last season, that is just able to find absolute precision passing to knife a defense. And this is actually a pretty awesome opportunity, I think, for the Texans offense to take a meaningful step forward and get a hard-fought win on the road. I don't have a huge edge on this one. My fair price would be Texans plus 105. But that said, I don't mind going to war with the team that I have a lot of hope and confidence is going to be in the discussion when it comes to who wins the AFC.
Okay, I like it. Yeah, I don't really understand why these teams just aren't priced at worst as even on neutral instead of an edge being given to the Packers. All right, we are done for today. Don't forget to check out NBCSports.com for more information to help you with your wagers. Thanks to those watching on the NBC Sports YouTube channel. If you're listening to us in podcast form, don't forget to rate and subscribe. Also a reminder to find all your favorite NBC Sports shows on Amazon Music. Just head to amazon.com/NBC Sports. From myself and Drew, good luck this weekend, and we'll see you soon.